back to Uncut and welcome back to another movie review. If you heard our last episode, you might know why we were a little bit lost and not really around here much.
Yes.
My name is Sebastian, in case you've forgotten.
And my name is Caitlin, in case you've forgotten.
And once again, we're here for another movie review. I just want to give a quick disclaimer. If the audio is different, I'm hoping that this audio is 10 times better than any episode before. Because, I mean, if you go to our YouTube channel right now, That Film Couple on YouTube, you'll be able to see that we have a 2-mic setup right
We're
now.
all fancy over here now.
We're becoming fancy.
Right.
Like, this took absolutely forever to set up. But I'm really excited for it. How you doing, Caitlin?
Doing good. We are getting back into the swing of things. We're going to the movies way more often. We would love if you guys told us what movies you wanted us to review next. We have quite a few that we ourselves are excited to see, but we'd love to review stuff that you want to see as well.
Any spoilers for movies that are movie reviews that are coming up?
Exactly. We watched a horror film.
Okay.
That's all I'll say for the next
Interesting.
one. But many more.
I mean, there are
come.
a couple horror films right now.
Yeah, so they'll never know which one it is until we post it. So
It
just
is
have to wait and see.
currently 12:20 a.m.
You do have to specify AM.
So if you
PM,
see
yes.
if you see my face on camera on YouTube, I'm absolutely exhausted.
Yes.
Today's been a fun day, though.
It has been a fun day.
Yeah, today's been a fun
And
day.
I'm glad that we are reviewing a movie that we have seen 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we watched Transformers like 2 weeks ago, and actually we hadn't been to the movies in a bit.
A couple months, maybe?
And Transformers was Caitlin kind of like allowing me the space to just have some fun.
Right.
So, quick backstory. The only introduction to Transformers that I ever had in my life was this PlayStation 2 video game that I played for like 10 minutes. Couldn't get past the first mission and then gave up. But then when I saw this movie, I was actually really hyped up for some reason.
You kept asking me, like, can we go see it? Can we go see it? And I was like, no.
So, I mean, from the get-go, I was excited before even seeing the movie.
Well, that should give you all some context as to why we may not know everything about the Transformers universe. I, for one, only saw one movie. I cannot tell you which one it was.
Probably
all I remember was that it looked like they were in New York City,
the 2001
and I watched
probably.
it in 3D when I was in elementary school. And I just remember, because it was in 3D, when there was violence, you saw people just flying across the screen, and I was like, oh, there's a skull
Like OG
that just
Iron Man.
flew over to the side here.
Oh, you were telling me something about it being too rated R for your times.
Right, even though I'm betting you it's not rated R, it was just
Definitely
PG-13. But yeah, that's the only thing that I remember from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's to say that we came into the movie relatively blind as to what we were actually going to experience.
Mind you, after the movie, I was like, okay, so I'm watching every single Transformer movie.
Right, it got him very hyped.
Yeah, and we started. I watched, and then Caitlin was like, I'm not gonna watch this movie, and then she
You
ended
do
up watching
not
it.
need to help me like that at all.
And we watched Bumblebee, which in theory will be the first movie chronologically based on a couple Google sites. If it's on the internet, it might be true, right?
Sure.
Right.
Anyway, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's get into this. I'm hyped.
Yeah, so, just so you all know, we
I'm
were
seeing
talking
your iPad
about...
right now, and
What?
the review.
We'll get there when we get there, okay? That we were talking about Transformers Rise of the Beast. This officially came out on June 9th of this year. Directed by Stephen Caple Jr., produced by Michael Bay, because obviously.
Of course.
And this has one of our favorite actors in it.
Yes.
When did
he had a
discover
couple
him?
controversies happen to him about like household abuse or something like that.
I forget, honestly, at this point.
Yeah,
but
I really
it was
didn't
In
get
the
to listen
Heights
to it.
that we
We
saw
really
him
like
for
him
the
in the
first time.
Heights.
Mhm.
I mean, he was a supporting character in whatchamacallit, Hamilton.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
he's the guy that died twice.
Anthony Ramos, by the way, he plays the main character.
What's his name?
What?
Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos.
Oh,
Mhm.
nice.
As far as the Autobots themselves, Liza Koshy, Pete Davidson, Michelle Yeoh, who else? Peter Cullen and Ron Perlman were our Autobots. I thought it was so cool. I had no idea that Pete was doing
looking
that.
up the cast, and we were like, what?
I was very shocked, like, because, I mean, like, Peter Cullen and Ron Perlman, like, made sense. But the other ones, I was just like, wait, like, were they always?
I mean, you would have thought that I would have recognized Peter
Davidson's voice.
David Peterson. Pete Davidson's voice.
No, I had no idea it was
It
him.
was
Mirage.
Mirage. Yeah, I mean, their voices are robotic, so it's not my fault.
Yeah. There was also Dominique Fishback, I think that's how you say your last name, who plays Elena, which is the supporting female role. Who else do I remember? I can't seem to remember anyone else.
We're just professionals out here. We knew.
I don't recognize any of their character names.
We definitely did our research not 10 minutes before we started recording this podcast.
Okay, anyways. So as I'm sure you know by now, this is a continuation in the Transformers movie series. I believe this is like the 7th movie that they've made overall in this universe.
Chronologically is the second, actually.
Chronologically second, but the 7th overall. Right around, yeah. So the basic plot summary, straight from Google, says Optimus Prime and the Autobots take on their biggest challenge yet. When a new threat capable of destroying the entire planet emerges, they must team up with a powerful faction of Transformers known as the Maximals to save Earth.
Ooh.
Very nice, very nice.
It was a really fun incorporation, if I can talk a little bit about the story itself.
Yeah.
Because there were animals. And obviously, I think it's gone through everyone's head, like, how are these cars, even though they're aliens? My thought is more like they're advanced, so maybe at one point they had cars. I don't know. But it was really cool to see animals, and then for some reason I got really hyped when they became, like, ultimate form, and they became, like, humanoid animals, and that was really exciting and pretty cool.
Yeah, the animation I think is amazing for the Autobots, especially the animals. There was like a clear like attention to detail, I think, especially when, not shocking at all, some of them died. You can clearly see the intricacies that are like inside of them that show like the mechanisms. I don't know how to explain it properly, but I think it looked pretty cool. And I think that's kind of what drew you into this more than anything, was in the trailer seeing, like, the gorilla, like, doing this.
I mean, my favorite
like,
animal is monkey.
Yeah.
So it's not surprised that I was really hyped by seeing a gorilla. But I think just all in all, it just looked really good and really well done. It didn't look like a tacky animation, or it didn't look rushed or anything like that. Mind you, I don't know if it was rushed. It could have been rushed for all I know.
And we're not VFX artists, but I still liked what I saw.
Yeah, it looked really good, and I really enjoyed it. At the beginning, I must say, I was a bit confused with the name, not Optimus Primal.
Oh,
was
yeah.
The name of the main gorilla guy. I was really confused about that, and I was like, so what is this, like, the ancestor of Optimus Prime or something like that? But then later on, mind you, this review has a bunch of spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, or if you care about spoilers, why are you here? Come back later after you see it. And later on in the movie, they reveal that it's because Optimus Prime is like really famous in this universe, and so his dad named him after him. Yeah, which is like a huge honor.
I feel like as people who went into this not knowing a single thing about the like Transformers lore, I still feel like you could easily watch this. It was just little things like that where I was just like, wonder what that's about. Like, I wonder who they're referencing.
Like the one comment that Optimus Prime made to Bumblebee, being like, "I know a human was good to you once."
Exactly, and
we all thought it was.
Well, not we all. We both, just the two of us, thought he was talking about Shia LaBeouf's character in the first movie.
Just to
'cause
be
that's
fair,
the
not many
only thing I
people,
knew.
not many people remember timelines in movies. Like this movie
Yeah.
took place in 1994,
I believe so,
it
yeah.
is.
Hmm.
If you tell me in what year blank takes place on, I'll be like, I don't know, what year did it come out?
Yeah, I was definitely like taken aback because I was like, wait, I thought the first Transformers movie was technically set in the present.
So you kind
So
of knew.
I was like, where? This is before,
The present of my
but is
past.
Bumblebee referencing? It
Well-
was confusing. Yeah, so we agreed this was the second movie
The second
in the
timeline.
initial timeline.
I think later on, like one of like the 2017 movie, 2018 movie might have been, like really way back when, like the Dark Knight or something like that. Like Batman, I'm thinking here. But there is one that they last night, that takes place a long time ago, I think. Because for what I was seeing, it was like BCD or something like that.
Okay, we'll have to look into it. All I know is that
BCE.
Bumblebee clearly took place like late. What was it like?
Late
Late
80s.
80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's how the series continued. Shall we get into reviews?
Yeah, let's get into some reviews.
So there's a 3.8 overall rating on Google. Quite a few 5s, but also quite a few 1s. So let's go in and read some official reviews for people that get paid to review stuff.
Like,
So-
not us.
We don't get paid yet. Yet is the key word there.
If you wanna give me money.
Okay. So the first one I have here is from the New York Post, and they gave it 1 star.
What? Out of 1?
1 out of 1. Okay. So they actually compared it to the Fast and Furious franchise.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, you just have to read it. Okay.
Oh my god.
So it says here, all Transformers really needs to do, much like the Fast and Furious franchise, is top itself when it comes to badass new vehicles and breathtaking chase scenes. The plots will never be riveting, and the characters are cartoons.
Are you kidding me?
On cool factor, the filmmakers don't deliver. Similar to Fast X, there's nothing even slightly novel or impressive about Rise of the Beasts. About those underwhelming beasts, we're introduced to the Maximals.
What are you guys
Okay,
at some point?
Yet more robo-aliens who instead look like a bird, gorilla named Optimus Primal, and cheetah. They've been hiding out in the mountains of Peru, director Stephen Caple Jr.'s generic movie's only other location. The Maximals' impact is minimal, and they serve only as more steel sticks in the mud who speak in narrator whispers and have a vague mission. The final seed introduces a toy franchise tie-in that would create a sort of Hasbro cinematic universe. Maybe
That
we
was
should let
weird.
the Terracons destroy the Earth after all.
That was weird.
Did you hear the last sentence?
No.
Maybe
That was
we
still in my head.
Maybe we should let the Terracons destroy the Earth after all.
That's so mean.
I know.
That's so
We
mean.
really should address the last scene though.
Yeah, let's address it really quick. I don't
'Cause I
know
do
how
agree about
I don't
that.
know how I feel. I am excited yet
We should tell
Cautious.
them first what happens in case they don't know.
I don't know if this was an after credit scene. I don't quite remember
I
if
thought
it
was
happened.
like just
Like right before the credits, I
before-
think it was.
So yeah, our character Noah, our main character, he's
The human
still
character.
he's still kind of struggling to get a job, but he nailed an interview, or like
As a
got an
security
interview
or something
as
like that, I
security,
remember.
and the interviewer seems to know some things about what he did with the Autobots, even though to
Like
the
I
rest
see
of the
this
world,
clear time in your resume. Like why were you unemployed? He was like,
Yeah.
I was doing some stuff.
to
in
the rest of the
Peru."
world, they don't know what he did with the
Mhm.
Autobots, but this guy does, and suddenly it's revealed that he's being interviewed by, like, was it like the company for G.I. Joe or G.I. Joe? No, I think it was
It
like
was
the
not
company.
G.I. Joe himself. We all know G.I.
Yeah.
Joe is The Rock.
Okay. Either way, he gets asked to like join the G.I. Joe company or whatever.
Yeah, he's
at the very
asked to
end.
like we need someone like you
Yeah.
in our company. Okay, so in this universe, I guess G.I. Joe is gonna be sort of like a shield from Marvel, from the Avengers.
I don't think we need it. really don't think we need it.
I mean,
at
they might
all.
not know where else to take the Transformers universe, and
And they're just going into another doll.
no, but like this is the thing. I can see it because if you see all of the human protagonists in past Transformers movies, where are they now?
That is true.
All of these characters are just like, oh, you were my friend once, but I have to let you go now.
Dramatic.
What's his name? Hugo?
What?
Hugo? What's the name of the character?
The main character?
Yes.
Noah.
Noah.
How did you get
I knew there was an
Hugo?
H in there. I knew there was an H.
At the end, and it's silent.
Anyways, this gives the opportunity for Noah to continue being a character in this made up universe. And the Mattel Hasbro. The Hasbro is creating now. And I mean, I think it's pretty cool because otherwise I don't think we will see Noah in any other movie, maybe once more.
That's if they even go ahead and actually make the movie.
A lot of people might come out and be like, that's just dumb.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea in order for Transformers. Because, I mean, Transformers, we all think about it as, oh yeah, I grew up with that. Like, I had the toys. But you see Marvel and you're like, I love those movies. I'm so excited for the upcoming movie and the universe and blah, blah, blah. You don't think about it like, I grew up with Iron Man. You don't really think about it like that. So I think it's a way for Transformers, and it's really smart for them to just compete with Marvel, which is the same thing that DC is trying to do right now. And even though they're not like superheroes in the sense of like comic superheroes, they're more like fantastical beings or something like that. I think it's a smart way because now they can start to compete with these other franchises, and I think it's pretty cool.
I mean, now that the Barbie movie's coming out,
Oh
it's
my
time
goodness.
for doll-related movies. Too.
With Barbie coming into the real universe, and she finds out that she needs to save the world next to the
If that's
Optimus
even what the
Prime.
plot is. We'll get there when we get there. Anyway,
Of
shall
course
we
it's
go
not Barbie.
on to another review?
Let's go.
Okay. This one is from TheVerge.com. This also isn't the best review,
They'll just haters.
but they
They'll just
don't
haters.
they don't hate it as much as the New York Post did. So, like many a Transformers movie before it, Rise of the Beast puts an inordinate amount of focus on its human protagonist,
Yes.
who often feels like he's pulling focus. To be fair, charmingly so, in a movie that really should just be about robot on robot violence. Rise of the Beast does not try to differentiate Noah from other Transformers human heroes like Sam Witwicky. Is that really his last name? Witwicky? By giving him a legitimate means of following the Autobots into battle. But the way that the film props Noah up has the unintended side effect of highlighting how Rise of the Beast doesn't give Elena all that much to do in its final acts, and how the film as a whole has a tendency of sidelining its female characters in a way that really jumps out as being unnecessary. To some extent, it feels like some of Rise of the Beast's uneven characterizations can be chalked up to there just being so many moving parts in play, but that's a problem of the movie's own making and something that might have been wholly avoidable. Especially in its final acts, Rise of the Beast really starts to feel like the kind of Transformers movie that first nicked the live-action franchise off. It's big, explosive, and very nice to look at for a few minutes before it all starts to blend together. Whether or not that's intentional or Paramount's part isn't quite clear, but what does seem more certain is how the studio sees Rise of the Beast as the beginning of its next big movie franchise play. That's an odd thing to say about the 7th installment in an ongoing franchise, especially one that doesn't exactly take advantage of its own prime opportunity to really start steering the ship in a new direction. But for anyone who's just trying to see some robots turn into some cars and or animals, Transformers Rise of the Beast will get the job done.
See, I can agree with some of these statements, and I definitely think that I'm going to see a Transformers movie not because of its human character, but because I want to see some action between robots.
Yeah.
And I can also agree with that this guy was pretty charming, and that goes back to the point of like trying to give these human characters a little bit more of a protagonist role, of actually having a storyline behind it and whatnot. And I mean, I think Bumblebee did it really well with that, but that was more like there was only Bumblebee and this one girl. So I think that's a completely different story. It doesn't even feel like a Transformers movie. But this one was just so jam-packed with action.
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting to give the human character some robot like armor and abilities.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also agree that I would have liked to see maybe less of him. And then what's the name of the other character? Helena, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was just there to drive the plot along with some smarts.
She's the
sadly
stereotypical
she's the girl in the
nerdy
chair
character.
Yeah, she's the girl in the chair.
She is the girl in the chair. Yes, she just knows
what's
stuff.
gonna happen. She just
Which,
knows.
like, yeah,
the
okay,
thing.
you need that. It just kind of.
What did she do afterwards? She was hired.
She became famous or something from it. I can't quite
for
remember
discovering
what happened to her.
ruins and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a pretty solid statement. What was there?
They didn't give like a star rating.
Okay.
But it wasn't. They weren't like mad about the movie.
They're pretty
as some of the
valid.
other ones
I
was.
can see their points.
Yeah. The last one I have is from Roger Ebert, who I quote frequently because I like their reviews. 2.5 stars
Okay.
is the rating. But ultimately, Rise of the Beasts does what every Transformers movie has to do. Wrap up with a seemingly endless fight sequence in which big, shiny chunks of metal slam noisily into each other. The smaller and more intimate special effects are more impressive than these massive set pieces. Mirage evolves in a multitude of cool ways that look tactile and realistic, for example. But while this climax isn't as dizzying and interminable as they so often are, it's still rather dull compared to the action that came before it. There is also the fundamental problem that there are no real stakes. We know what happens to these characters and that they'll not only be okay, but also survive for several more movies. And of course, a mid-credit scene suggests that there's even more to come from the cinematic universe, because there's always more to come. So you may as well buckle up.
Yeah, there's definitely a heavy plot armor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it favors them because I would have hated to see Bumblebee go. And even Mirage, I would have hated to see go so easily. And now that we're getting attached to him. I mean, yeah, I think Transformers become a pretty niche thing. It's not something for everyone to go see in a movie theater.
Yeah.
And it's not for all families to enjoy together. I think this is for people that grew up with Transformers and are able to get back into it. And then bring new people in that might like the same stuff, even if they didn't grow up with Transformers. But it's definitely not something for everyone. Same thing. Yes, I can compare in that sense with Fast and Furious. It is not for everyone, but the ones who like it really like it.
Yeah. Coming from someone that really likes it and really
I really liked it.
doesn't like it.
Shall we give our final review points?
Yeah. The only thing I have to say is that I do agree that it is a little strange knowing that the characters survive. I didn't actually even think about that when I was watching the movie, but of course they were going to survive because of course they had to meet Sam because of course they had to go through like the rest of the movies that they haven't technically lived yet.
I mean, me not knowing that this movie was so far back in between the other movies, I couldn't have imagined that I could have seen Bumblebee die, no problem.
Exactly.
Because I didn't know it was before all the other movies in which you see Bumblebee definitely alive.
If you don't know anything, then yeah. Shall we do?
Yeah. And I'll be pretty fair. I think I'm not gonna be too much of a fanboy here. I'm gonna give it a solid 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a decent one. If you hear my grandma in the background, no you don't. No you don't.
I am also giving it a 3.5. It's definitely not a movie for me, but I really enjoyed the ride. It was really fun. I enjoyed the special effects, like I said. And even though reflecting on it, I realized that this movie, I could have just not seen it and known that they were still going to be fine because, there are all the other movies were left. But you know what? I still enjoyed it. I still had a good time at the theater. Kind of your standard action adventure. In for a good time. Kind of thing,
Well, let us know how you like this movie. Let us know if you've seen it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And you can find our social media on Instagram at NCOT the Podcast.
I almost forgot it.
I know. I have so many handles in my head. At NCOT the Podcast. You can also find us on Threads at NCOT the Podcast. You can find us. We've been pretty active actually on YouTube. You can find us at That Film Couple, and you can find us now on TikTok.
By the same handle,
That Film Couple.
We're just doing everything now, aren't we?
I know. And you can find me on Instagram at Sebas Aleph.
And you can find me at Kate Johnston62 on Instagram as well.
Thank you so much for being here one more week. Please, if you're any of the social media handles or anything, please follow and give us a quick like. And we really appreciate a 5 stars on any platform that you're listening on. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.
And cut.